Do initial D techniques actually work, or do they just destroy your car? Today we're going to be trying 3 of the greatest initial D moves and see if they're actually viable in real life. Or, you know, BeamNG. The first technique is the inner wheel lift, whereby you float your front inside wheel above an open gutter. Not only does this mean you essentially cut the corner, giving you a straighter drive through it, but if done right, your wheel will hook into the gutter and the car will rotate around the corner more than usual. So let's see if we can do it in the most realistic damage simulation we can get our hands on. So we're in the sunburst for this one. I feel like it's a pretty well balanced car, especially with that all-wheel drive system. So let's give it a go and... Unsurprisingly, the first attempt didn't go too well. My front wheel went over the gutter and bounced off the very inside, meaning the entire wheel assembly snapped like a twig. So if you're going to do this in real life, just don't do that. However, my second attempt was a bit more fruitful. Okay, I've learned my lesson. It's about finesse rather than brute force. So let's see if we can get this spot on. And, almost. We were doing it right there. We got a little closer, but I didn't have the momentum to pop back out of the gutter this time. So I attempted it again and again and again, trying to fully optimize the corner. But I noticed something. Because you're in an all-wheel drive car, the front end is super heavy, and because of this, my front wheel was falling too far into the gutter and not hovering over it. So when it was time to exit the corner, the wheel was taking the full brunt of 1.5 tons travelling at 50 miles per hour. The car is broken. Ugh. We needed a rear-wheel drive car, just like in the cartoon. Alright, so this 200BX isn't as front heavy. It's a lot lighter, so hopefully we should be able to do the inner wheel lift, never mind. And while on paper this 240BX would be better at the inner wheel lift, it just wasn't. It was far too slow and loose. Shit. As it's practically a 1-to-1 copy of the real S13, we were barely getting up enough momentum around the corner to just hang the inner wheel, and the entire right side would just fall into the gutter. And to be honest, I was starting to think that perhaps Initial D wasn't telling the truth about this technique. But thankfully, there was light, and a few instances where I caught a glimpse of what the inner wheel lift could be. Come on, I'm getting sick of this. Ooh, holy shit! Okay, too much rotation, but that's what we want. Whereby the car actually hooked into the gutter and didn't just flop into it like a fish, and where we potentially could have taken the corner faster than we would with gripping it. Technically, this isn't a real inner wheel lift, but it was close enough for me to have the wheel to continue testing. And to continue this testing, we needed something stiffer, something harder, and more powerful, and with 3-spoke wheels. The power will allow us to pull many more G's around the corner, the stiffness will mean the car doesn't just flubber down into the gutter, and the 3 spokes will ensure we do it in style. And after a few more 100 failed attempts, we finally did some variation of the inner wheel lift. So there's a tiny 1 in 120 chance that you can do the inner wheel lift without breaking your car, and it isn't even a quicker way of getting around the corner. And for those reasons, the inner wheel lift is not a TSRB certified toge technique. Up next is the Irohazaka jump. This technique is probably the most audacious in the entire series, involving jumping over a hairpin to pass an opponent with a 6-foot drop on the other side. Most will say this technique would wreak absolute havoc on the car, and they're probably right. No matter how many times I tried, the car was either rolling over or taking some pretty significant front bumper damage. Now, some might say that the bumper damage doesn't matter, but I say those people don't even own a car. Even if my bumper scraped a speed bump, I would drive in silence the rest of the way home. If you're racing your pride and joy down a mountain, you're certainly not going to want to do this technique. Now, I know some people are going to say, oh, but the real car had rally suspension. So to shut them up, let's add some of those and even some beefcake tyres for good measure. While rollovers suddenly became a whole lot less common, I still don't think this is a viable technique. But there still may be hope. In the cartoon series, the car that did the Irohazaka jump wasn't a front-engined four-door sedan. A car of this length, with a lot of weight at the front, would surely change the dynamics of this manoeuvre. I mean, the front of the car leaves the road 3 to 4 business days before the rear, so it's no surprise that we're just nosediving. But no, the car that was used was a short wheelbase, 2-door, mid-engine sports car. While we don't have one of those in Beam, what we do have is this.
Hell no, man. What the fuck?
While it's a totally different type of car, it is mid-engined, and it even has a shorter wheelbase than MR2. So maybe, just maybe, it will now be possible.
Come on, little covert, I believe in you. I'm sick of trying this jump.
Send it and... While we were picking up significantly less damage, with the front bumper only being creased instead of half ripped off this time around, I'm still not convinced that this technique is worth the damage it causes. Not to mention, it's probably not even faster either. And therefore, the Irohazaka jump is not a TSRB certified toge technique. The next technique is the blind attack. It involves turning your headlights off before an overtake to surprise your opponent and leave them guessing where you'll attack from. Yeah, no, this one doesn't work either. Denied! Now this next one is pretty personal to me. Shift lock is when you shift down a gear and your engine can no longer keep up with the speed the wheels are spinning. So in turn, the engine tries to slow the wheels down, causing them to lose traction and eventually overstiff. I've uploaded countless videos explaining this technique, but every time, the comment section is filled with comments like this. Now turn damage on and do it again. Rip gearbox, try damage on. An engine lock. Shut it! I am adamant the shift lock will not destroy your car the first time you try it. So let's try it. This technique actually came from Rally, on loose surfaces such as gravel, wet tarmac or snow. And because of the low friction on these surfaces, that means the engine can slow the wheels down without so much stress being put on the drivetrain. But once we get on hot, sticky tarmac, those wheels are going to become a lot harder to slow down, simply because there's more grip, meaning we put more rotational stress through the gearbox, drive shaft, engine, pretty much anything that helps the wheels turn. And while the shift lock technique doesn't sound healthy for the car, the only message we get doing this technique is the risk of over-revving. No real damage done. Although if this was your pride and joy once again, you still wouldn't want to do this too many times. But it's not a certified technique yet, and there is one slight issue. Not only does this car not have much power, it's also got an open differential, so only one wheel is being driven by the engine. This means the engine is far less likely to blow up, and we're only putting half the force of the shift lock through the car. So let's try it in a more powerful, locked differential spec.
Alright, this is the one, I believe. Hold the slide, baby.
And yeah, still absolutely no issues. To suck that coaches, the shift lock is a certified TSRB toge technique. If you enjoyed this video, you might like this one where I take the all new 200BX up the mountain roads with BeamNG, whilst also trying to escape a tsunami.